Good evening, everybody. Rock stars out there, Matt here. Welcome to the Epic Real Estate Investing Show. This is where we show people how to invest in real estate so they can escape the daily grind and retire early. And today we're going to talk about the hard truth of being a real estate investor. You know what they're not telling you, specifically about what you'll need to succeed and the roadblocks that you're going to experience. And next week, I'll actually be getting together with a small group of investors live via Zoom to address these issues and how to close more deals using creative financing. And if you'd like to join us, you can get all of the details at creativefinancingmasterclass.com. Those doors close on this at midnight tonight. So if you're even remotely curious about it, check it out as soon as we're done here. Alrighty. So I posted this survey yesterday. Let me show it to you real quick. This survey right here. And it's asking, what's your biggest roadblock in real estate investing? And you can see the responses here. They gave them the options of lack of knowledge, lack of time, lack of money, or fear. And you can see kind of the order, the sequence that those played out. And I asked it this way because these are the things that you will need to succeed as a real estate investor. You need the knowledge, you need the time, you need money, and you need confidence. And what people won't tell you is you don't necessarily need to possess them all yourself. You just need to have access to them. And you can access them by partnering or outsourcing or delegating. But the more of these that you do have yourself, typically the better off you're going to be. And although they are major roadblocks for real estate investors, they're much easier to overcome than most people realize. You know, you can see the people here surveyed that they didn't all choose the same thing. They didn't all choose lack of knowledge. They didn't all choose lack of time. They didn't all choose lack of money. And what you want to see there is just kind of realize whatever's a struggle for you, if say lack of money was the struggle for you, look at there's 24, 30, so that's 50% of the people, essentially 54%. Oh, there's that 3% down there below for something else. But half the people don't have this struggle of money. And so the point being is what's a struggle for you is easy for somebody else and vice versa. So that right there should give you a little bit of relief based on whatever you think you're missing and knowing that it is attainable. It's not impossible by any means. So the second thing would be, I'm going to show you is how to overcome all of these with great probability, with a little bit of creativity. So I'll just go through each one of these really quickly, and then we'll spend some time on the lack of money, since that seems to be the biggest one. But the first one, lack of knowledge. Now, that's easy, right? That really is easy. And that's like kind of a poor excuse if that's really what's getting in your way. Information that's readily available these days, right here on this channel. And there are countless other channels on that cover some very similar topics. You can get all of the knowledge that you need to succeed for free. You can get it right here on YouTube or just go to Google and start searching stuff. Now, you may have to piece some stuff together and you might be working and going a little bit slower, working by trial and error, which will work. Nothing wrong with that. Or if you want to go a little bit faster, you could essentially pay for it and get in a more organized format or a more organized system to streamline your learning and accelerate your journey. And then you can also get some support and some with your education for when you get stuck, because you know you can have the best resources, you can have the best education. There's so many variables in real estate, you're still going to get stuck. And so you're going to need somebody to lean on. So to go the fastest, you'll want to have a coach or a mentor to reach out to when you get stuck. So lack of knowledge, the point here being is just, if lack of knowledge is your roadblock, it's really just laziness. It's sad, but it is. Or succeeding in real estate, it's just not that important to you. And that's fine too. So the next one, lack of time. So 6%. I'm surprised this is a little bit low because this is kind of what when people come to me, this is one of the biggest challenges that they say they have. But per this survey, it was actually really low. But lack of time can typically just be solved with a reorganization of priorities, right? Kind of identify what you do during the day and put it all in order of importance, and then, see where you can steal some time from. I think the last stat I saw on people watching TV was like, I don't know, the average person watches like 22 hours of TV a week. And if you're watching 22 hours of TV, you definitely have enough time to be a successful real estate investor. I mean, really, you could do this in as little as an hour a day. And there's people here that work with us that actually do that, have very limited amount of time and do it. And we do it by, this is how we do it, is we just stay focused on the right activities. We use this thing called the Daily Navigator. And what it is just a list of all the essential money-making activities. So if you have just an hour a day, you want to make sure that you're focused on just these activities here, because it's really easy when you start working in real estate or start being interested in investments and pursuing stuff to get on Zillow or to get on Redfin and start clicking around and just go down this rabbit hole. And before you know it, 45 minutes have passed and you've done really nothing. You've made no money. And you're like, oh, I don't have any time and I didn't make any money. This didn't work. Well, searching Zillow is not a money-making activity the way that we do it here at Epic. So no surprise there. So we just use this little scorecard, so to speak, to keep us focused on the right activities. So there's lack of time. Next one, let's focus on the lack of money now. Okay, so let's focus on this because per their survey, this is the biggest roadblock for people. And if this is your roadblock, then you'll really want to join us next week for the Creative Financing Masterclass, as I'm going to be showing you how to use more of your intellectual currency than your actual currency. And when your intellectual currency won't close the whole deal, when that's not sufficient, I'm going to be giving everyone at the masterclass access to the funds to do so, to put those deals together. So all those details are creativefinancingmasterclass.com. But the people here that said money is their biggest roadblock, contrary to their belief, they don't have a money problem. They have an idea problem. They're lacking the creativity. The hard truth about real estate investing is that you do not need money until it's time to officially close. That's the only time that you actually need the money. I mean, you don't need money to go out and find deals. You don't need money to present your offer to sellers. You don't need money to get the seller to sign those offers. And see what happens when you do that, when you take it that far and you have a signed contract on a property, is you now have an asset. You have control of an asset. Now, you don't own the property yet, but you indeed have control of it. And there are other real estate investors that will gladly pay you in exchange for that control. Here, I'll give you an example. My very first deal, my coach, when I was just getting started, operated from this idea, you've probably heard me say it here before, to move at the speed of instruction. So you learn a little, do a little, learn a little, do a little. And so that was how he taught me. And so initially he said, this is what you're going to do. You're going to get in your car and you're going to drive up and down the streets. Take notice of any houses that look a little bit distressed. Look for broken windows, look for boarded up windows, look for chipped paint, anything like the roof doesn't look great. Just look for something like the house, isn't as good in condition as the other houses in the neighborhood. So I did that and I wrote down some addresses and I came back to him and with these addresses, I said, okay, I got these addresses. Now what? He says, I want you to contact them and write offers to all of them. And I was like, but, I don't have the money to write offers. He says, you don't need money to write offers. So I went ahead and I just wrote the offers with total blind faith to do what he said. And lo and behold, within a few days, I actually got one of those offers accepted. And so I came back to him and says, okay, we got this thing accepted. Now what, smarty pants? I still don't have the money. He says, you don't need the money yet. And so he showed me a way to go out and share my opportunity, my asset, my signed purchase agreement with people that did have money and show them how they could make money by working with me. And so I did that. And I only had to talk to 2 people before I found somebody that was willing to go in on it. And so that was like my first kind of realization that, wow, I didn't need the money, because we closed that deal and I think I made $26,000-ish on that very first deal. And that was inside of 60 days of me being a full-time real estate investor. And then that was just the idea so I followed his instruction. I kind of operated that way ever since. So it's just been much easier to find the money once you actually have the deal. It's significantly easier because you actually have something to exchange. You have something to trade, because there are people out there with money that are looking for people like you that have properties under contract. So that was my very first deal, and I've operated that way ever since. And then one of the more significant ones was maybe just about 8 months after that, I had ran into a real estate investor who had a portfolio. He had 35 properties up in Illinois, and I was in Los Angeles, so I had never been to that area. And so my coach, he said, just write an offer. I was like, but this 35 properties, I don't have the money for 35 properties. He says, remember, you don't need the money yet. So we went through this whole process. I got all of those properties under contract. And I said, now what? He says, well, now you're going to go out and see if you can sell those. So this was my first introduction to wholesaling. So I was able to find, I sold those properties one by one and made enough money to put some cash in my pocket. And I was able to keep a few of those properties for myself. And that kind of started my whole passive income journey. And got my first rentals that way. So this is the type of stuff we're going to be covering in the Creative Financing Masterclass next week. And I'll give you a little bit more detail on how you actually do that. But here's another more creative example of one of my clients, Nathan. Let me pull this up real quick. And I don't know, let me click this just to make sure you're going to actually hear the audio here. How do we do this? I'm hoping you'll be able to hear it. Okay. All right, so let me share this for you while that's playing back there, and I'll get that all queued up for you. And then, perfect. All right.
Hey Matt, Nathan Price here in Spokane, Washington. I just wanted to give you a quick update on where my business is since I've concluded my coaching with you. First of all, just want to tell you thank you so much for everything that you've taught me. You've really paved the way for me to gather and garner the success that I've had. So past 12 months, I've done about 44 wholesale transactions with average profit margin of $9,000 to $11,000. Been able to, this has been accomplished primarily by the systems I've been able to put in place here. I got a couple of VAs working for me. The biggest one has been my acquisitions manager. Been able to bring him on, brought him on about April. He's been with me for a few months. There's a few hiccups along the way, but he's awesome. His closing ratio is pretty darn good. Definitely puts mine to shame. So I'm grateful that I was able to kind of leverage one of my weaknesses into a strength. So my focus, kind of moving on, is to gather more rentals. So this guy right behind me here, picked that up a few weeks back. I paid just about market value for it, about $9,000 down. It's going to need a little bit of work, and it should be able to rent out for $1,200 to $1,300. Picked it up for principal only payments. So seller financing, 15-year note. First 5 years, principal only payments of $500 a month, and then after that, the remaining balance will be amortized over 29 years with a 3.5% interest payment. So it brings the payments up to $508, I believe, and so it's going to run out for $1,200 or $1,300. So the cash on cash return on that is very favorable. This came from a 3-option letter of intent that my acquisitions manager presented to the seller here. So that I'm going to be picking up more of these. Love these principal only payments. Anyways, thank you for everything you've done for me, everything that you've taught me. Sorry I can't be at the Epic Intensive. Make sure you tell everyone hi for me. All right, take care, and we'll chat later.
All right, so I don't know. Hopefully that played out okay on the audio. But this is Nathan. Long story short, he found the deal that the house that's right behind him, and he got seller financing on it. He purchased the property for $180,000. He put $9,000 down. It was a 5% down payment. He had principal only payments of $500 a month. Gross rent was $1,200, and this calculates to a 96% cash on cash return. So he used very much of his intellectual currency to go and purchase this property and create an amazing asset for himself. The return on investment it's 96%, right? That's ridiculous. So, but he still had to come in with the $9,000. So how do we do that? Where did we come up with that? So we got the intellectual currency to pay for 95% of this, but we still got to come with the $9,000. So that's what that would be the money problem, essentially, that we'll go ahead and we'll look to see how we solve it. So it's not a money problem, though. It's an idea problem. So I'm going to give you some different ideas of where you can find this. So for example, here's some money ideas. First thing is, could the seller themselves cover that $9,000? They've already given you or gave Nathan seller financing of $181,000 or something like that was the actual mortgage or the loan from the seller that they were carrying back. But could you not ask the seller to take the $9,000 and carry that back for a different term? So rather than the 30-year long term of the bulk of that note, maybe you just do a 1-year term on the down payment and you pay that off sooner. So that's one way. Other way is, do you have anything of value, right? Do you have an old jet ski or an old motorcycle or a boat that only gets once or twice a year? Anything of value, so a baseball card collection, whatever it may be. Do you have anything? Is it producing 96%? So you want to look at your other assets that you may have of value. I mean, with a couple investments like this, you could buy it all back pretty darn soon anyway. So that's another place to look. Credit cards. A lot of people don't really consider credit cards. They don't think of it that way. Like, this is what we buy dinner with. This is what we go on vacations with. This is where we go to the shopping mall with. We buy plane tickets with credit cards. But if you only needed $9,000 for this, why not? It's a 96% return. You can't pass this up. You can't let $9,000 be the roadblock here that prevents you from advancing your financial future this way, right? So another one, stocks. Could you sell a stock? If your stock is earning 96%, then maybe you don't sell it. But I know this year, we're down, 20-30% so far this year. This average stock return or average mutual fund is 8% or so. This is 96%. This is a good exchange. This is a good way to reallocate your portfolio. So that could be one that you could do. A 401k. You could go, if you have a 401k at your job, you could borrow against your 401k and you get to pay yourself back with interest. It's a great strategy. You could do that. Or do you have an old 401k from another job that you forgot about, or it's just sitting there? We meet people here at Cash Flow Savvy all the time. They've got 2 or 3 401ks from 2 or 3 jobs that they don't work at anymore. Even if you cashed that out for the $9,000 and paid the penalties and paid the taxes, so that's 10%, maybe another 20%, 30% for taxes. But this is a 96% return. It totally makes sense to do that in this scenario. Or do you have any gold, right? Is your gold earning 96%? Is your silver earning 96%? Do you have any cash value life insurance? I just interviewed Willie Booker, an REI Ace client of mine, and this is exactly how he's doing his deals. He's got a cash value life insurance policy, and he's been purchasing his properties that way. Or do you have any other real estate? Could you refinance another piece of real estate? Could you sell another piece of real estate? Right? So you could do that. Or maybe even your primary residence. Do you have equity there? You could maybe potentially borrow from there and get a home equity line of credit to come up with this $9,000. That money is just sitting there doing nothing in your home. Why not take $9,000 or whatever you need to do and get a 96% return? That's working a lot harder than zero, right? Okay, so those are some ideas. But the other idea is your ace in the hole here, so to speak. You have this property under contract. That is an asset right here, even before you close. So what that does is it makes borrowing much more feasible way to go about this. For example, this pays 96%. Do you think someone might split that return with you for $9,000? Of course they would. Where in the world are you going to invest $9,000 and get a 48% return secured by an asset like a piece of real estate? Or you could say the same thing about 24%. Where are you going to put $9,000 and get 24%? Or even 12%, right? Once you know what a property is going to return for you, now you know what you can actually pay for the money that you need to put the deal together. So this is 96% return. That's how much of a percentage I have to deal with. I could probably find someone for 10, 8, maybe even 6%. So, look at today's savings accounts. It's 0.7%. I think Aunt Sally would mind giving $9,000 to put into this deal to 12 times what she's getting in her savings account, for sure. So here's the thing. So borrowing is an option. I'll give you some ideas of where you can access or where you can borrow this money from in a second. But if you don't know anybody that would be willing to do this with you, that's not necessarily a money problem. It's more of you don't know enough people, but more than likely it's a credibility problem, not a money problem. And what gives you the credibility? Well, the credibility comes from having good deals like this that under contract and having control of them. So that's where the credibility comes from, is having control of the deal. And then how do you get the deal under contract? Well, you're out there, you're taking action, and you're writing offers. And then how do you know, when do you start doing that? Well, once you learn how to do it, right? So it kind of works like this. When people look at this $9,000 and think of this as the money problem, if you trace it back to the roots and just kind of peel back the layers of this onion, what you really have is, you might probably just have a knowledge problem. So you need the knowledge, and you might know how to do this, but are you actually doing it? Are you applying what you've learned? And if you are taking action, are you writing offers? Are you getting those deals? Are you finding good deals? And once you got the deal, now you've got the credibility, and then you got the money. To understand that it's much easier to find the money when you find the deal first. All right. So that's what you want to focus on. Focus on finding the deal, and the money will find you. You do not need any money to actually find the deal and secure it under contract. So here's some money ideas. Where are we going to borrow this from? It could be a family member. It could be a coworker. It could be a friend. Could be a friend of a friend, or it could be an associate, right? It could be any of those, or maybe the retirement account of all of those people. Or if you join us at the Creative Financing Masterclass, you have access to the whole Epic Lending Network, where there's no shortage of money there to put these deals. Okay, so let's look at how this would work. So this is what Nathan did, and very creative way to acquire it. Now, once you close on it, what's a creative way to make even more money from this? Let's look at this. So right here, let's say we found the money. We're going to borrow the money from Aunt Sally for 5 years. We're going to pay her 7%. And now we've got this property. Let's say we resell it. So we bought it with seller financing. Let's resell it with seller financing. So we purchased it for 180. We'll mark it up just to market value, sell it for 190. We could typically maybe even charge more and charge a premium because we're offering financing, because our buyer won't have to go to a bank. And who we're looking for is someone that might not go to a bank or might not be able to qualify for a bank loan, but still it could be credible, could still make the payments, and is tired of renting. And if they could own a property for the same price that they rent it for, that's a very appealing opportunity for a lot of people. And this is how we've always attracted them. We said, why rent when you can own? Was kind of our whole promotion when we do this. But we could sell it there. We can ask for a 10% down payment. So there's $19,000 that we would collect when we sell this. And then we would carry back the financing at 9%. So we have these principal only payments on the property that we purchased, but then we're going to resell it with a 9%. So we're collecting $1,376. And that's a really important number. So we kind of play with the percentage rate there to try and get that monthly payment very close to what the gross rent is in the area. So now the person is purchasing the property for the same amount on a monthly basis as what they would rent the property for. So they have that. We put $19,000 in our pocket, and we have to make this payment here though. So we're collecting $1,376 every month from the new owner. We pay off our $9,000 loan every month, $178, and then we pay off the $500 to the seller. What that leaves us with is $698 a month. So another very creative strategy. So we purchased it with seller financing, and then we resold it with seller financing. So when you look at that, what does that do to your return? It's not 96% anymore because we don't have any money in this deal. It's an infinite return. So what initially was thought to be a money problem, purchasing this property, has really just been an idea problem, a very creative idea. So how long would it take for you to escape the rat race with a new set of ideas like this, with infinite returns? We essentially, with our ideas, with our intellectual currency, we created money out of thin air. Got it? All right, so let's go back to our survey. If you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to ask. But let me go back to the survey here. Right here. So what do we have? All right, so fear was the last one, right? So by the way, if you'd like to know how to do this, what Nathan did and how to sell it that way, and you'd like some help over the next 6 months, because I'll be working with people over the next 6 months, take a look at what we're doing next week at creativefinancingmasterclass.com. Okay, so the last obstacle is fear, which really starts to disappear. It starts to disappear rather quickly with the more knowledge and education that you gain, the more experience that you gain. But to overcome this completely, we really kind of have to dig deep and again, kind of peel back the layers of that onion to discover what you're really afraid of. What's the real fear? So I'll let you know right away that there's no real estate jail. You know, if you're operating in good faith and your intentions are good, you're not being fraudulent in any way, you're not going to jail. So there's nothing to be afraid of there. And the second thing is nobody dies from real estate. I don't even think it's in the top 100 causes of death each year. So those two things, no real estate jail, no death, that should give you some comfort right there. So the worst of the worst possible thing that happen is it just doesn't happen as long as you have good intentions. You can't mess it up and find yourself in a bunch of trouble. So if you dig deep enough of what you're afraid of, I mean, everything else that you're afraid of, it's really all attached to your ego. And here's what I mean by that. We're all hardwired as human beings. We're all hardwired to either look good or avoid looking bad. That's at the core at all of us, and it's inside of us, whether we're aware of it or not, it's there. And once you realize that, once you have that enlightenment, you get to decide what you want to commit to. Do you want to commit to being a successful real estate investor, or do you want to hold on to your commitment of looking good? And when you have that awareness about yourself, all of a sudden, the things that you're not trying to do in life, the things that you really want to go after, it's kind of silly to not do it. So, in real estate, if the fear is holding you back, understand you're just learning something new, and understand that it's impossible to learn something new and look good at the same time. I mean, think about something that you are good at right now. You play, you're good at golf. You have a great golf swing, or you play a musical instrument. Maybe you're really good at the piano, or you can juggle 3 tennis balls, something like that, or you're good at magic tricks or something like that. Whatever it is that you're good at, and you're good at something. At one point, you were not good at it, right? And you didn't look good while you're learning how to do it. I mean, you hit a lot of sour notes on the piano, didn't you? Practicing juggling those 3 tennis balls, you dropped them all the time. But you stayed the course, and then you did become good at it. And now you do look good doing it. And you might even be like, show off, because look what I know how to do. So you've been through this process before. And I just want you to know that real estate investing is just like that. It's a skill that you can learn. And if you're ready to make that commitment to yourself to become a successful real estate investor and walk in the same footsteps as someone like Nathan, a great first step would be to join us at the Creative Financing Masterclass. You can go to creativefinancingmasterclass.com to get those details. And that closes tonight, by the way. So there's not much time left to make that decision, to make that commitment to yourself. All right, so here's a little bit more about it when you register, because you're going to get instant access. Let me go over here real quickly. I'll just give you some details really quick. Where are we at? Here we are. Super. Okay. There. All right. So when you register for the Creative Financing class, you're going to get instant access to the lending network. Like right now, you don't have to wait till the class starts. So you get access to the different types of funds. If you don't have a network of your own, you don't have a rich Aunt Sally, you don't have coworkers, or maybe you're just afraid to ask those people. Well, we'll give you access to our lending network where they'll provide 100% funding for your fix and flips, the bridge funding for your creative deal. So if you're short on that down payment, like we had in that last example, that you've got access to that. Then we've also got asset-based rental loans. So they're investor loans that are more analyzed and weighted on the actual deal of the property that you have, and not so much on your credit score. So a perfect credit score is not required to get those loans. But that's just a bonus. I mean, that's just something that you'll get right away. And it's just one of 8 bonuses at a $5,000 value. So that just kind of goes with it. But that's not what this is even all about. What it's about is, if you want to creatively finance your real estate investments, the kind of way that we were showing here, from finding the right opportunities to negotiating the right terms, to structuring the paperwork, to organizing the close, to collecting your profits, then you might want to join me and my students and see how we're doing this right now in today's market, but doing it in a way that you can copy it and you can implement it yourself, so you can apply it to your business, to what you're doing right away, to apply it immediately. So it's a live, interactive virtual class. I'll be there the whole day. I'll be showing everybody what we're doing and how this all works step by step. We'll give you all the documents and everything that you need. And then I'll be there to answer all of your questions as well. And then I will be with you for the next 6 months to offer and give you support as well. Right? So it comes with a 300% success rate guarantee. And then you can get all those details at creativefinancingmasterclass.com. And again, that closes tonight. So there's just a few more hours left that's going to be open. So if this is remotely interesting you might want to head over there sooner rather than later. So here's this. It's 8 sessions. We'll spend the Saturday together. So session 1 is effective creative financing strategy. So this is just really laying the foundation. So if creative real estate is brand new to you, I'm going to bring you all up to speed to make sure we got everybody on the same page before we get into more of the advanced strategies. Then number 2, session 2 will be the secret to getting sellers to accept creativity. And that's like a big sticking point for a lot of people that learn how to do this creative stuff. They get the structures down, but then they can never get a seller to actually agree to it. And so I'm going to show you how that's actually done. It's actually just a little bit of a tweak and probably how you're going about it. And all of a sudden you'll start to see these get more and more often get accepted, just like Nathan's doing. Session 3, how to create creative offers. So using the 3-option letter of intent, which is the actual letter that Nathan used to get that actual deal. He even said the 3-option letter of intent in the session. So I'll show you how that works. And then how to close. Session 4 will be how to close these creative deals. This is another big sticking point, because when you go through your closing agent, whether it's a title officer or an escrow officer, or you go through a real estate attorney, a lot of these creative strategies are way over their head. They know how to do one thing. They typically work with real estate agents and banks, and that's like the way that they know how to do it. You start bringing creative stuff like this, it can confuse them, and they might push back and say, hey, you can't do that. And you absolutely can. So I'll give you access to people, a closing agent in all 50 states, all across the country, and make sure that you have all the right documents and disclosures as well. So that'll be important. Then session 5, I've got a good buddy of mine joining us. I read a book about one of the more impactful books I've read in the last 4 years, called Profit First by author Mike Michalowicz. And it has totally transformed my life financially and the way that money runs through my business and through my personal life, and in a way that money's really never even a concern for me anymore. I know it's always going to be there, and I owe it all to this book. And my friend David, he went out and made friends with the author, Mike, and he kind of struck up a little bit of a deal with him. He says, I love your book so much. My buddy Matt loves your book so much. Would it be okay if I just wrote a version of it for real estate investors? Can you see that? Yeah. So a version for real estate investors. So he did. So it's amazing. So for those of you that register, I'm going to go to Amazon and I'm just going to buy a bunch of these books. I'm going to mail them to you directly, because it's that important. It's how much of an impact that's had on my life. I want you to have it as well. And then David is going to join us for session 5 and explain it all to you and how this works. All right. So that's my free gift to you. And then session 6, picking the right market for creative financing. So Josh Miller, a former client of mine, he's gone out and he started very successful. I think he did 107 deals in his first year. Not your typical results. He was a total rock star. But he essentially retired from real estate, went and started his own software company. And that software company is based on what he did to find all those deals. It's a lead generation company. But he's got this cool little tool, the zip code analyzer. So it'll tell you like where all of the best opportunities are in your areas, in your zip codes. And it's really amazing what he's done. He's a total data nerd, and he's done a great job with it. So he's going to give that to you for free. It's yours, and he'll show you how to use it. So that'll be session 6. Then session 7, we're going to get into a little bit more of advanced strategies. And we call this the deal after the deal. So the deal after the deal is essentially the deal after the deal, right? So with every transaction, there's going to be 3 things. There's the terms of the sale. There's the terms of the loan, right? The financing. And then there's the terms of the paperwork. So most people get the terms of the sale and the terms of the financing down. That most people understand that. But what they miss is the terms of the paperwork. There's so much more money to be made just in the paperwork. And I'm going to show you how that works. And I'm actually going to give you my paperwork and my documents so you don't ever miss out and never leave any money on the table again yourself. So we'll go through that. Then we'll finish up with session 8, velocity investing. This is the way to multiply your ROI by a factor of 3, all the while virtually eliminating your risk. Okay, so I'm going to cover that. And that's, again, a very advanced strategy. I've been doing that for about 24 months now, and it's remarkable as to what it's done and how it's multiplied how hard my money works for me. Okay, so if you'd like to join us, please do. Just a few hours left before we close this down. Go to creativefinancingmasterclass.com. If you have any questions about it, go ahead and type them there in the chat, and I'd be happy to answer those for you. Let's see. Hey, Rod, good to see you, buddy. Glad you made it. Thanks for hanging out. Love to have you over there at creativefinancingmasterclass.com. All right. Super. And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity coming up in the market right now, because I don't know if you've noticed, but those foreclosure moratoriums are over. The eviction moratoriums are over. And the market, the real estate market is returning back to normal, where we're starting to see a rise in foreclosures. We're back just almost to the point where we were pre-pandemic. So those types of opportunities are coming back again, and you want to be armed with a lot more tools in your toolbox than just negotiating price, because there's going to be a lot of opportunity to negotiate price and terms and really create a whole lot of money for yourself. I was talking to a class that we have here. We do it once a month, where we launch people's real estate investing businesses, and I kind of gave them a little bit of a scoop or a rundown on what the economy is doing. And one thing I've learned over the years is, when the economy goes down and people lose their money and people are crying, like, money doesn't disappear, it just moves. It goes somewhere else. And so I think we're watching right now money move. And so if money is important to you and you like making money, you want to go move to where the money's at. And so if the foreclosures are coming back and people are losing their wealth, people are struggling out there right now, which is sad and it's tragic, but that money's going to move regardless of what you do about it. So if you want to position yourself to be in the place where that money lands, I think real estate could be potentially better to get started in right now than it was maybe 5 years ago. But those are just my thoughts. And I don't think the market's actually going to crash. I think it's going to continue. The supply and demand balance is so out of balance that I can't anticipate us seeing a crash. I was just looking at the numbers and actually releasing a video here on the channel on Tuesday, where I did a deep dive into the analytics of what the market is doing. And even though the interest rates are going up and the affordability is getting more and more difficult, and a lot of first-time home buyers are getting pushed out of the market, the actual number of sales is even down. So you might hear that in the news right now, but be careful how you're interpreting that. The sales activity is falling, but we just hit another new record in the actual sales price. So there are people leaving the market, being pushed out of the market, being outpriced out of the market, but not everybody. So houses were getting 10 offers, right? They were getting 10 offers per every time a house would go on the market. They get 10 offers, and then have this bidding war. So they're not getting 10 offers anymore, but they're still getting 7. They're still getting 6. So and I've always said that the market, I don't see it's going to crash, but watch the interest rates. That's the variable. Watch the monetary policy. Watch the money printing. Watch what the Fed does. So they're acting very aggressively right now. The interest rates are going up, and they've tightened the money printing up, and so it's having an impact on activity, and it's pushing some people out of the market, but not enough to slow down the prices. It's not pushing the price downward yet, and it might correct, but will it crash? I doubt it. And the other part of that is on the supply side. We're at a 2.2 month supply of houses across the nation. That's really, really low. That's such a strong seller's market right now. And then the new building numbers came out. Housing permits are down. The builder confidence is down. And the reason being is builders they know the demand is out there. They know there's money to be made, but they can't build houses cheap enough due to the inflation and the supply chain issues. They can't get the stuff, and a huge labor shortage. And so the building of houses and adding more supply to the market, it's going to come really slowly, really, really slowly. So I see with this, when you have an industry like this, when the supply and demand is so out of balance like that, if you can get in and you can find the deals and you can control those deals, just very much in the way that I've been showing you tonight, you can essentially write your check. That's job security for the next decade. So if you're already investing in real estate, you're doing the right thing. If you want to get started, come join us. A great first place starting point would be to join us next week at the Creative Financing Masterclass. All right, so go to creativefinancingmasterclass.com. All right, super. That wraps up the epic show. If you found this episode valuable, who else do you know that would? There's a good chance that you do know somebody else that would. And when their name comes to mind, please share with them and ask them to click the subscribe button when they get here. I'll be glad to take care of them. Okay, I'll take great care of them. And if you're not subscribed, I appreciate if you would. If you liked what you heard today, hit the like button, and that'll do it for tonight. All right, so God, and so do I. Health, peace, blessings, and success to you. I am Matt Terrio, living the dream.